Happy Saturday. Welcome to the Power Adoption episode 137. We are on the eve of New York City Marathon Day, baby. Arguably the best day of the year. Depends who you ask. We have a very special guest on today. We're going to bring on Cole in less than 5 minutes. Less than 5. Cole, I see you, brother. I'm going to bring you on shortly. Waiting for Big Dave to hop on, and let's get this party started. Who's ready for the New York City Marathon, baby? Heck yeah. Heck yeah. All right, guys, let me know how you guys are feeling in the chats right now. And also, let's drop a question in there for Cole as well. Let's get this going. Big Dave, I see you. Dr. Z. Zombie. Mark Victor Hansen. Big Dave.
What's up, CLS community?
How you doing, you sex goose?
I'm doing great, man. You ready for your big race?
I am.
Are you going to beat Harry Sigma?
Huh?
Are you going to beat Harry Chigma?
It's not competition, it's collaboration. That's
is it? How are you collaborating? Are you leading or are you failing?
I'm inspiring it.
I like it. That is a great answer. I like the new Reinvention Formula get up on the right there. My right.
Do you like them? It's new.
Oh, I like it a lot.
The floating bookshelves.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Yeah, I think you're sweet.
I am sweet, man. I miss you. It's cold there, huh?
It is cold. And I just found out a few years ago that I'm anemic, so I get really cold, which is a little bit annoying.
Oh, I've always known you're anemic. You know, when you used to not wear your shirt on the show, it was very obvious, the anemia.
Oh, man. You been traveling this week a lot?
As always, brother. I blessed. I got to spend, it was wild. San Diego, Miami, and San Francisco. Finished up with Ryan Serhant yesterday. Think we'll be doing some more stuff together. He's one of my favorite people. And I got to tell you a quick story about Ryan Serhant. It was so interesting. So we've been friends a long time. Both kind of got into the media game. But what made us different is we actually had a business that, he obviously still running as he was in there. And he was also on the $1 million listing, New York. So, I'm not a big fan of all the Bravo shows. I like the Bravo characters. And it changed my perspective, though, because he was nothing like what I thought he was going to be. I thought he was going to be, all cowboy, no saddle. And this guy, he knows more. He's forgotten. Ryan Serhant has forgotten more about sales and real estate than most people know. This guy, you ask him questions, he will give you a breadth and depth that will change your life. And he's amazing. Just always much respect for him. As for you, when you're going to break the 3-hour mark in
I don't know about that. But what you said about Ryan is true. I shared a stage with him and got to spend some time with him. He's a good dude. And
yeah.
I
really like you.
That's an awesome line. All cowboy, no saddle. That's awesome.
There's a lot of cowboys. There's a lot of cowboys out there that don't have a horse or a saddle. Yeah. We see them all the time.
Yeah, that's true. We got an awesome guest on today. He's raw, he's authentic, and he's full of nuggets. I'm going to bring on Cole right now, but while I do, I wanted to ask you a question, Dave, because I think, tomorrow I go to war, essentially in the marathon, but we're all at war every single day. Sometimes it's inner critic, negative thoughts. A lot of times it's the ego. That's something that you talk about often. How do we know when it is the ego, and what's a way to disarm them so they don't overpower us?
Yeah, well, you're never going to get rid of the ego, right? There's no such thing as an egoectomy. So if we just look at the natural course of fear and the reaction to fear, what we really want to do is get one step ahead of the ego by understanding what we're afraid of. It's either a fear of the past or a fear of the future. And if we practice identifying fear, we know human nature, human capability evokes ego in order to compensate for fear. So what I try to teach people is, hey, take a step in front of the ego, find out what you're afraid of, knowing that every time you're afraid, every single time you're afraid, you're going to react with ego. Now you can use time to facilitate spending less of your time interfering with where you want to be and more of your time in the trajectory of where you want to be. So it is a simple process if we understand how ego first is presented to us by fear. So everyone out there, find out what you're afraid of, either the past or the future, resentment, guilt in the past, worry, anxiety in the future, and you'll start seeing patterns of needs to be offended, anxious, frustrated, guilty, upset, separate, inferior, superior, etc. Anyway, I do not want to steal any time. I'm afraid that I'm stealing time from the incredible Cole. What's up, man? Welcome.
What's up, brother?
What's up, guys? I'm excited to be back. All right. I heard you're running a marathon, Craig.
No,
Yes, tomorrow morning.
I'm running it.
I like it, dude. There we go. I agree. Those floating shelves look dope, bro.
Yeah.
You're getting nice over there.
Thank you. Those are new.
Big time. Look at us. I'm in the closet. You got a gray wall behind you. We might as well be in prison.
I just got the black wall so nobody can see how dirty my office is. I just started painting it all black and then that's it. And then it's like, it looks super clean, but it's not. But it's great.
This is awesome. This is our 137th week in a row, and there's no one in the world that I personally would rather have on today before I go to war tomorrow in the marathon than you, brother. I'm a fan of your work. We've connected before. We're building a friendship, and you tell it like it is, and we're going to dive right in. One thing that you talk about often, and it's something I started to realize in the last couple of years, and it's really helped, is focusing on yourself and not being a people pleaser and so forth. How has that transformed your life and helped you quantum leap in different areas by focusing on yourself?
I love that. Well, honestly, I feel like for a very long time, I was operating out of what other individuals wanted me to do. And I could never please anybody. It was hard for me to please my parents. I never did. We got in a bunch of fights. We were at each other's throats. I didn't talk to them for like 8+ years. Same thing with friends and individuals in my life. There was a lot of people that I was always trying to please. And every single time I would try to, it would just not go down that route. Nothing actually fell into place. And then it was because of the fact that everybody always tells you, don't be selfish, don't be selfish, don't be selfish. It's a bad thing. It's a bad thing. You should always be selfless. But I just had a realization that if I don't start being selfish, then how the hell am I supposed to give everybody the best version of myself? Like, even now that I have a son, I'm incredibly selfish in the morning, but I just do it in a calculated way. I wake up at 3 a.m. before they're even awake, so I can spend 3 hours on me, my fitness, my mindset, and myself. So when they are awake, I can then selflessly give myself to them because I focus on myself first.
Dave, same frequency or what?
Of course. Same neighborhood, same frequency. I very rarely meet someone that wakes up earlier than me. So I'm a 4 o'clock guy, but for the exact same reason. I'm just hoping my kids, since they're older, they sleep in longer. So I don't have to get up at 3. If they start waking up early, I'm effed. But you know, it reminds me of a really funny story. One of the guys in my neighborhood, when I was in my early 30s, thinking I had everything, I was a pleaser. I was stuck in this energy suck that Craig and I talk about between I am and this is what I want people to think I am.
Yeah.
And so this guy in my neighborhood was a real dick. And he said to me, and this is like the guy, just a dick. He's like, dude, I'd rather people hate me for who I am than love me for who I'm not. And I always think it's so ironic that like the biggest dick in the neighborhood changed my life. And like my perception was, I don't really like you, man. And yet he was still a friend. I didn't really like him, but he was okay the fact that, dude, we're on a different frequency. You don't like me, that's cool. But and he's a good father. He was all the things, you know, I didn't like him. And meanwhile, I'm now that guy that I'm sure people say, man, that guy's a dick. But he taught me to be myself instead of worrying about what other people think I am. So I love that, Cole. I love the fact you wake up at 3 a.m. And one more thing about waking up early, everyone out there. I used to be the guy to tell you that wake up early. I now tell people, be yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like not everybody's like Cole, Craig,
Yes.
and I. Man, if you want to wake up at 10 a.m. and you still are taking care of yourself and giving back to whoever, then that's cool. It's especially without the 9-to-5 world that we live in. We don't live in a night. When it was 9 to 5, I think statistically you had to wake up early. Yeah. But it's not a 9-to-5 world anymore. So wake up whenever you want to wake up.
Okay, I want to touch on that right quick because that's a very important point. Because everybody looks at me and they're like, you wake up at 3 a.m. Like, how much do you sleep when you go to bed? Like, and they start spamming me with questions. It's very simple. I sleep 4 to 6 hours a night. it just works for me. I've been doing it since I was an iron worker. But the only reason why I do is because it works for my life. I talked to my wife about this. She actually just tuned in as well. When it comes to what I do, I wake up at 3 a.m. so I can work on me, my mindset, my fitness, my life before they wake up. Then I can give a little bit of time to them before I have to dive into my work in my office, grab for my clients. I get that done until around 6, and then I have a choice. Well, if I want 8 to 10 hours of sleep, that means I lose my baby time and my family time. So I'm just going to stay up longer, all right, with them, be able to push my sleep, sacrifice a little bit of sleep, and then move forward. Like it's works for me. I love that point so much because everybody always is like, what's the success habit? Who's got the most successful life? And let me just mirror off them. But it never works. And then you burn out, then you crash and burn, and then you become a person who's like, fuck morning routines, or I hate waking up early. And everybody's like, no, it just didn't work for you. You got to find what works for you.
Yeah, that's good. That's important, especially now when like you sign on Instagram and there's 50,000 things that you're supposed to do before 6 a.m., right?
Yes, dude, exactly.
And some of those might be great for you, but some of them might not. So form your own opinion.
Yeah, and I think having a framework of, and I've narrowed it down to what is it that you want today in the trajectory of where you want to be in the future. Who can you help and who can help you, and then how best can I get it done? And that's exactly what Cole describes, right? If this is what I want here, I know I'm very clear on what I want, not what other people want, not what's missing, not what I don't have. I know who I can help and who can help me, my family, my clients, my community, etc. And then how best can I get it done? Waking up at 3 o'clock is how you can get what you want done.
Yes.
Now, other people, it might be 10 o'clock or whatever it is that they want, and then we can prioritize accordingly. And that prioritization, I keep on coming to, if you can't prioritize your day, if you feel overwhelmed, if you feel, I'm overwhelmed now. If you procrastinate, yeah, as I like sit here going, I've been up since 4. No, if you feel overwhelmed or procrastinate, the antidote is prioritization. But you cannot prioritize your day if you don't know your what, your who, and your how. That's it.
Yeah. You control or delete so many programs running.
Yeah, I'm coming off it, man. It's good though.
Yeah, this is so much fun, and there's so many places we can take this conversation, but I want to make every second count. And although I can't necessarily relate to this question just yet, God willing, hopefully soon, you two can in a big way. And Cole, I saw you talking about like setting the tone for your kids. And a lot of people say, oh, I would die for my kids, right? But what about living for your kids by setting an example and showcasing to them what's possible and so forth? How important is that mentality for you, brother?
It's literally everything. So I love my parents. Okay, I do. And I always try to preface this because I also have a lot to say about parenting due to the fact of how I grew up and how I saw a lot of my friends grow up. But there's a lot of things that I saw that I'm like, I'll never fucking let that happen. And before I became a father, I actually had like a very big breakdown moment. And I think a lot of parents do, right? At least from what I've heard in the conversations I've had, because me and my wife always talked about becoming parents. And we're like, yeah. And then we've been together for 7 years as of tomorrow. But when it came down for us to like actually have kids, then like the boy in me came out and I was fucking freaked out. I'm like, nope. And then we like actually had the conversation. First 2 months of his life, I was terrified because I thought all the old past trauma and everything was going to come out of me. And then I just ended up getting this calm energy wave over me. And I was like, all the past me is not going to become his life because I just refuse to let it happen. And that's why I live for my kid every day. Like you just said, I grind as hard as I do to inspire, motivate, and give him the opportunities that I never had. And I just refuse to use them as an excuse. It's a video that I always post on my social media that people absolutely hate, but I stand behind and I'll die on the hill with. And it is, your children should be your reason, not your excuse. Like you should be going to the gym for them. Stop fucking using them as an excuse as to why you can't. You should be grinding and sleeping less for them, not using them as an excuse as to why you need to go to bed to get rest. Like when I look at him and then I look at how I grew up and I look at how a bunch of my friends grew up, it doesn't compute in my brain to be like, oh, I can't because of my boy. No, I can because of him. I get more motivation, more drive, more motivation, more inspiration because of him. I work harder because of him. And it's just a mindset shift of like, I want him to be able to experience stuff. And I actually smiled. So when I messaged you when I was in New York, Craig, he has been on more planes and traveled more before he turned 1 year old than I traveled before I was 23. Like that, it's just another lifestyle. But that wouldn't have happened if I, again, didn't live for him and keep grinding for him.
This is so deep and such an important topic. And Dave, I can't wait to hear what you're thinking.
Yeah. Well, 4 kids in, 26 years of marriage, and 1 frog in my throat. You know, I've simplified because I felt the same way, and I'm obviously farther down that road, and I agree 100%. I try to tell people, here's like 3 things to think about when being a parent. I want my kids to do 3 things with their life. I want them to do their best. I want them to learn lessons.
Yes.
And I want them to have fun. And so I don't care if they're artists, doctors, lawyers, or failures. I want them to do their best, learn lessons, and have fun. And then I want them to know 3 things about our relationship, me and my 4 kids. 1, I love them. And that was the first piece of advice when I had my first child and did not want to leave the hospital because I was terrified going, oh my gosh, I got to stay here. Yeah. So I want them to know I love them. I want them to know I'm proud of them. And I want them to know I have their back. And those 3 things that I want them to know are the 3 things that I didn't know from my own father. Never told me he loved me, never told me he was proud of me, and I didn't feel like he had my back. And so between those 2 things, it's amazing how empowering you can be as a parent because they are my reason. Yeah. And I feel the same way. I switched my paradigm of non-negotiables. It used to be family first, and I was lying to myself. Yeah. It is my health first. Yes. Because right, if I'm not healthy, I'm shit to my kids. I'm shit to my wife. I'm shit to my community. All of those things go away. And that's why, you know, being able to be self-full so you can be selfless to the people that are most relative to you. Last thing, I created this matrix, which applies to kids and parents. You may enjoy, Cole. I know Craig Poo likes it too. So people usually live their life and they figure out this spectrum of feeding. It's like, I'm going to feed those people that feed me, and I'm going to let people that bleed me fall away or fire people that bleed me from my life. That's the, I don't care if you hate me for who I am thing. Yeah. But the one thing that isn't integrated into it is the relativity axis. So for example, my mom's 80. She has done everything for her 6 children, single mom. She bleeds the shit out of me, right? She bleeds my money. She bleeds my emotions. She bleeds my energy. She's 80, but she's so relative to me. She's the most relative person in my life that it actually is a mechanism of feeding that she is bleeding me at this stage in her life. And so the last thing I do is let her fall away. I lean in to my mom because of the relativity. I think people get confused because they make some, you know, high school senior, they're 55 years old, and they're looking for validation from some guy that was a senior when they were a sophomore, and they let that person bleed them, but yet they're not even close to relative in their life. So make sure that we understand that our children are most relative in our lives. And yes, they will bleed you when they're little, and they may bleed you. I have 3, you know, 24, 22, and 19-year-old daughters. They will bleed you, at least financially, but that's okay. And we need to have that matrix, but let them know, hey, just, you know, my kid gets off the football field, whether he has 6 touchdowns or 0. Did you do your best? What did you learn in that game? Yes. And most importantly, man, is it still fun for you? Right? Is that what you are you excited to get to that game? Are you excited after the game to get to the next game? I want to know you are, because I love you, I'm proud of you, and I always got your back. I love that.
It's so good. I'm having so much fun right now. I have to get dopamine.
Now Craig just has to convince his fiance to sleep with him so he can have children. I'd suggest keeping the hat on, Craig, if she ever lets you.
If you're on quiet today with the fog, you throw it off.
I love it, dude. This is the best podcast ever. It's just a bunch of fun shit talk.
We'll land the plane with one final nugget. a big piece of my transformation when I reinvented myself 3 years is when I established exactly where I was, and I was not happy. But I accepted it so I could move forward. And I really started to consider what I believe to be the greatest price of all, and that's the price of regret. Cole, I know that's important to you as well. How does that concept, the potential price of regret, play into how you live your life and be mindful and take advantage of opportunities in this moment?
Honestly, I started operating at a different level when I realized I hated who I used to be. And you guys were kind of talking about it at the beginning, like, what is your fear? Is it like the fear of the future or the fear of the past, the regret itself? I have a saying, and a lot of people don't really understand it, but it's something that really embodies a lot of my work ethic, and it's that I want to be remembered forever. The reason why is because when I started to like think about my life and think about what I wanted to do, I wanted to start serving other people, help other people, and impact other people. Because when I was a kid, I felt very helpless. I felt like I didn't have any control over my life. I felt like I didn't have anybody that was in my corner. I felt like I was completely held back. So through helping people, I'm able to kind of kill that fear in my mind of being forgotten, because it's very daunting to me that we can be on this planet for 100 years and then just be forgotten as soon as we leave. It's fucking, it blows my mind. So I just want to serve. And the reason why I don't have a lot of regrets is because I did a lot of horrible shit in my past. I went through a lot of horrible things, and I know it's such a cheesy saying. I'm like, there's stuff that I do regret, obviously, but without that stuff, I would not be here. Like, I wouldn't have been able to retire my wife before 2020. I wouldn't have been able to give her all the opportunities she had. I wouldn't have been able to go from a drug addict to a earner helping thousands and thousands of PTs every single day. Like, without those experiences, I wouldn't be me. So I'm like, there's not a lot of shit that I'm like running from anymore. It's more of things that I'm like running to. I want to help. I want to help. I want to serve, because, and then this is where the selfish comes out. Like, I do not want to be forgotten. That movie, Troy, still to this day fucked me up. When he looked at that kid and said, "That's why you'll never be remembered," that line is like etched into my brain every single day.
I know exactly what we talk about. Right when he's about to, they're calling him into war.
Yeah.
The kid's like, "Why do you want to go?" You know, I wouldn't want
to fight him. And he's like, "That's why no one will remember your name." That, when I was a kid and I watched that movie, it like slapped me in the face. And like, that's where a little bit of my ego comes in, because I'm like, I want to be here for a long time, and I want to etch my name into some sort of history book so it stays here. But I want to do it for the right reasons. But I want to do it through serving and inspiring and pushing and motivating.
That's pretty cool, because we started this conversation out with ego. That's how an ego can actually be a positive.
Yeah, well, the ego is positive, because the ego can get you up, get you started, get you back started,
yes,
and get you back up, which means you're not going to quit. And just to finish up, I love the word remember, recollect, and remind. And so if you want to be remembered, you want to be recollected, and you want to be reminded, then you have to be of service. Yeah. And the way that we do it, believe it or not, takes us right back to the beginning, is that if we believe that there's something bigger than us, an omniscient, all-powerful, infinite, unified system of thought, a unified, infinite system of thought, then in order to be remembered with that, recollected with that, reminded with that unified, infinite system of thought, then we have to clear the interference between that and that omniscient, all-powerful, all-knowing source that protects, promotes, and loves us more than our mom. And the only way to do that is to recognize that fear, recognize that regret, acknowledge it, acquire the knowledge in order to facilitate clearing it away. And in our lifetime, to be etched in stone is a remembrance, a reminder, and a recollection. And there is only one way to do it, and that's to provide value, to be of service, and to ask for help. Yes. So there's a reconciliation of not only being a ferocious day-to-day warrior, like in Troy, but also to be a Buddha, to allow the outcomes that we could never even have imagined to be positive, to protect, like being a drug addict, like losing over $100 million. If we are able to have that humility of saying, I am, and I am part and parcel to that system of thought, then we will be remembered, recollected, and reminded. And I don't think there's anything wrong with anyone. And I think it's actually a combination of the ego that gets us up and then the ego list that gets us there into
Mm.
remembrance, reminding, and recollecting. And Cole, you are an icon and illustration as someone who does it physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally for his community, those most relative and those that you don't even know that are watching your videos, that you're impacting and inspiring, just like the marathoner over there, the anemic Craig Siegel, the eagle. He's going to fly his way through New York. The wings are flying. Get it, man. You just wish you were racing me. I'd make you look so fast. It'd be incredible.
This is
I
awesome.
appreciate that.
Cole, this was the perfect conversation, brother. Thank you for your presence, for your presence. I'm
Of course.
so build a friendship and do many more things. And for our community that might not have been familiar with Cole, do yourself a favor and check out everything he's got going on right now. Thank you, brother.
Thank you guys so much for having me. This was a blast. This was a good time. I love the shit talk. I love the value. I love it across the board. It's great.
You got it. I love you. I'm proud of you. And I always got your back, boys. Take care.
Dave, thank you.
Yeah.
Love you, buddy.
Do your best, buddy. Take care.
Bye, guys. Have a good weekend.
You too.
What an awesome conversation. I would even say the perfect conversation before the marathon. Super pumped. Cole is awesome, guys. If you guys weren't familiar for our community, go check him out immediately. He's real, raw, authentic. He's got nuggets. He's a good dude. Uncle Dave, as always, thank you so much. 137 weeks in a row. Wow. Talk about a commitment, being all in. If you guys want, you can download the TCS New York City Marathon app. Type in 6582. Come for a ride. I'll probably take off when I'm in wave 1, so about 9 a.m. Eastern, and I could definitely use your energy. So I love you guys. Have an unbelievable weekend. Also, if you want free inspirational nuggets throughout the week and you live in the U.S., you can text the number at the bottom of the screen, 917-634-3796. You dig? Love you guys. New York City Marathon, baby. Let's go.